The year is 31 BC. We are in Alexandria, the most dazzling, cosmopolitan and sophisticated city in the entire ancient world, founded 3 centuries earlier by Alexander the Great himself on the coast of Egypt, where the Nile meets the Mediterranean Sea. It is a city of marble and learning, of the greatest library the world has ever known, of a towering lighthouse counted among the wonders of the world, of Greek philosophers and Egyptian priests and merchants from across 3 continents. And it is the capital of the last great independent kingdom of the ancient Mediterranean, ruled by one of the most famous women in all of history, Cleopatra, the brilliant, charismatic, ruthless last pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra rules from a royal palace complex of legendary magnificence on the shore of the Great Harbour, a sprawling quarter of palaces, gardens, temples and treasures that has dazzled every visitor who has ever seen it, including the most powerful Romans of the age, who came to Alexandria and fell, one after another, under the spell of its queen and her glittering court. But the year is 31 BC, and Cleopatra's world is about to end. Today, we are going to walk through the royal palace of Cleopatra at the very twilight of the ancient Egyptian kingdom and see the lost splendor of one of the most magnificent royal residences in all of history. Using advanced AI trained on the ancient accounts of Alexandria and its royal quarter, the underwater archaeology that has rediscovered parts of the sunken palace district beneath the modern harbour, the descriptions left by ancient writers, and the work of historians and archaeologists, we have reconstructed Cleopatra's palace. The first thing to understand is the extraordinary city in which it stood. Alexandria was unlike any other city in the world. It was a planned city, laid out in a magnificent grid of broad, straight streets, some of them so wide and grand that ancient visitors marveled at them, lined with colonnades and gleaming with marble. It was a Greek city in Egypt, ruled by a dynasty of Greek-speaking Macedonian kings, the descendants of one of Alexander the Great's generals, of whom Cleopatra was the last. It was the greatest center of learning in the world, home to the famous Library of Alexandria, which sought to collect all the knowledge of humanity, and the associated research institution, the Mouseion, where the greatest scholars and scientists of the age studied, taught, and made discoveries that would echo for 2,000 years. Its harbour was guarded by the Pharos, the colossal lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, rising hundreds of feet over the entrance to the port, its fire visible far out to sea, guiding the ships that brought the trade of 3 continents to the city's wharves. And along the shore of the great harbour stretched the royal quarter, the palace complex of the ruling dynasty, the setting for the life of Cleopatra and the stage for some of the most famous dramas in all of history. The palace was not a single building, but a vast and growing complex. Over the generations, each ruler of the dynasty had added to the royal quarter, building new palaces, halls, and pavilions, so that by Cleopatra's time, it was an enormous, sprawling district, occupying a large portion of the city, a royal city within the city. It stood right on the waterfront of the Great Harbour, so that the palaces looked out over the blue Mediterranean, and the ships and the distant lighthouse and parts of the royal quarter extended onto islands and promontories in the harbour itself, connected to the shore, private royal retreats surrounded by the sea. The buildings combined the grandeur of Greek royal architecture with the ancient majesty of Egypt, marble colonnades and Greek halls alongside Egyptian motifs and monuments, for the dynasty ruled as both Greek kings and Egyptian pharaohs, blending the 2 great traditions. The complex included not only the residences of the royal family, but also administrative buildings, barracks for the royal guard, treasuries, temples, the tombs of the dynasty, and, by tradition, the revered tomb of Alexander the Great himself, who lay in state in the heart of the city he had founded. The luxury within the palace was, by every ancient account, staggering. This was the wealthiest kingdom in the Mediterranean world, grown rich on the incomparable fertility of the Nile Valley, whose grain fed much of the ancient world, and on the trade that flowed through Alexandria from across 3 continents. The royal palaces overflowed with this wealth. The floors were laid with intricate mosaics and rare polished stones. The walls and columns were of marble and precious materials. The furnishings were of gold, silver, ivory, ebony, and gemstones. Ancient descriptions of royal banquets and royal display from this dynasty speak of an almost unimaginable opulence. Dining halls adorned with gold, couches inlaid with precious materials, vessels of gold and silver and crystal, vast quantities of the finest food and wine, and the deliberate theatrical display of wealth designed to overwhelm and impress. When Cleopatra wished to dazzle the powerful Romans who came to Alexandria, she staged banquets and spectacles of such extravagance that they became legendary, displays of wealth so great that they were calculated to make even the masters of Rome feel that they stood in the presence of something richer, older, and grander than anything in their own city. The famous story of Cleopatra dissolving a priceless pearl in a cup to win a wager about the most expensive meal ever served, whether literally true or not, captures the reputation of her court for staggering, almost reckless luxury. And the palace had gardens, and a harbour, and a setting of extraordinary beauty. The royal quarter was graced with lush gardens, a precious luxury in Egypt, watered and tended to create cool, green, fragrant spaces of trees, flowers, and pools amid the marble buildings. The palaces looked out over the sparkling harbour, with its ships, its islands, and the great lighthouse on the horizon. Cleopatra is said to have had royal pleasure barges of fabulous luxury, floating palaces in their own right, on which she could travel in magnificence, and her famous river barge, with its purple sails, its silver oars, and its gilded stern, on which she first appeared to one of her great Roman lovers, became one of the most celebrated images of luxury in all of history. The whole setting, the marble palaces on the shore, the blue sea, the green gardens, the great lighthouse, the cosmopolitan city of learning all around, made the royal quarter of Alexandria one of the most beautiful and sophisticated environments anywhere in the ancient world, a fitting stage for the brilliant and famous queen who ruled there. For Cleopatra herself was the true wonder of the palace. She was far more than the seductress of later legend. She was highly educated, fluent in many languages, a shrewd and capable ruler, a skilled diplomat, and a woman of formidable intelligence and charisma who fought with great determination to preserve the independence and greatness of her ancient kingdom in a world increasingly dominated by the rising power of Rome. From this palace, she ruled Egypt, conducted her diplomacy, and formed her famous alliances and relationships with the most powerful Romans of her age, alliances of both genuine connection and hard political calculation, through which she sought to secure her throne and her kingdom's future. The palace was the center of her court, a brilliant gathering of advisors, scholars, courtiers, and the elite of the Greek-Egyptian world, and the stage on which she played the great and dangerous game of trying to keep her kingdom free. But the year is 31 BC, and that game is about to be lost. For in this very year came the catastrophe that would end Cleopatra's world and the independence of Egypt forever. Cleopatra and her Roman ally and lover had staked everything on a great struggle for control of the Roman world against a rival Roman leader. In a decisive naval battle fought off the coast of Greece, their forces were defeated. The victor pursued them back to Egypt, and the following year, with the enemy closing in on Alexandria and all hope lost, the great drama reached its famous and tragic end. Cleopatra's lover died by his own hand, believing her already dead. And Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, refusing to be taken to Rome and paraded as a captive in the victor's triumph, took her own life within her palace, by tradition through the bite of a venomous serpent, a death as dramatic and as famous as her life. With her death, the ancient line of the pharaohs came to an end after 3,000 years. Egypt was absorbed into the Roman Empire, becoming the personal possession of the Roman emperor, its incomparable wealth and grain now feeding the power of Rome. The last great independent kingdom of the ancient Mediterranean was gone. And Cleopatra's magnificent palace, in time, vanished too. Over the centuries that followed, Alexandria suffered earthquakes, tsunamis, subsidence, and the slow sinking of parts of its ancient coastline beneath the waves. Much of the ancient royal quarter, the palaces, the temples, the harborside splendor where Cleopatra had lived and died, slipped beneath the waters of the harbor and was lost. For many centuries, the lost palace of Cleopatra existed only in the descriptions of ancient writers and in legend. But in recent decades, underwater archaeologists, diving in the harbor of Alexandria, have begun to rediscover it. The foundations of buildings, columns, statues, sphinxes, and countless artifacts of the vanished royal quarter, lying on the seafloor just offshore, where divers can now swim among the ruins of the world of Cleopatra. The palace that once dazzled the masters of Rome lies broken and silent beneath the sea, slowly being mapped and recovered, giving up piece by piece the secrets of one of the most magnificent royal residences in the history of the world. That was the royal palace of Cleopatra at the twilight of ancient Egypt in 31 BC. A vast and sprawling complex of marble palaces, gardens, and temples on the shore of the great harbour of Alexandria, the most sophisticated city in the ancient world, overflowing with the staggering wealth of the richest kingdom of the Mediterranean, blending the grandeur of Greece and the majesty of Egypt, graced with gardens and harbour views and the distant wonder of the great Lighthouse, and ruled by one of the most brilliant, famous, and ultimately tragic figures in all of history. It was the setting for legendary luxury, for famous love affairs and ruthless politics, and for the final dramatic end of the 3,000-year line of the Pharaohs. And then it sank beneath the sea, lost for nearly 2,000 years, until the divers of our own age began, at last, to find it again. Cleopatra's Alexandria is gone, drowned and broken on the seafloor of the harbour, but its splendour echoes still in the accounts of the ancients, in the artifacts rising from the waters, and in the undying legend of the last queen of Egypt, who ruled and loved and died in the most magnificent palace of the ancient world.